people don't think of the Great Pyramid and think tube drills, but there are. And now you can't go up here anymore. This is obviously the main entrance to the Great Pyramid. Where you enter it today is through an area below this to the right called Mahmud's Hole, which is where the Caliph Al-Mamun, apparently, I think it was like, was it 1100? No, I don't know the date. I keep getting this wrong. 600 or 400 AD, somewhere in there. It's 80. Supposedly, he hammered his way in and just miraculously found the junction between the descending and the ascending passage. Like 400 something AD seems to ring a bell. But that aside, that's where you get in there. Now, back in 2015, you could get up here, and there is stairs, and you can see there's a railing. And this is where the descending passage comes out, right? So it's that passage that runs all the way from there right down through the bedrock to the subterranean chamber. And there's a junction with the ascending passage that leads up to the king's, the Grand Gallery and the Queen and King's Chamber. And we on our trips, we do get special permission to the pyramid where they open up all of the, all of the chambers. And often we do that at night. Like we rent it out for 2 hours, so it's at night. So, if you're friendly enough with the guards and we have connections and stuff, they'll let you walk up here. And it's not like the archaeologists go up here all the time. There's a staircase up here. It's not like you're climbing the pyramid or anything. But I really wanted to get up here, and Russ and I, so on the last trip, went up here, and I'd been up there before a couple times, and we went up there to look at it. So, you get up here, and this is this is where it slopes down, and this is the doorway. So that's the passage that goes straight like an arrow, with like a 1/4-inch deviation over 350 feet or whatever it is to the subterranean passage, through the masonry of the pyramid, through the bedrock. And right here, just interesting, if you look on the bottom left of this, there's a stone that's not like the other stone, which is all limestone. But there's a stone to the bottom left here that's kind of interesting, and it's this block. It's a granite block.
Okay.
And it's embedded in here. It's been broken off at the far end. And if you look closely at this granite block, you see at least 3 big tubular drill holes. So here it is. And so with a bit of light on it, you've got one where the stone's been broken, and you can see the inside of that cut. And it's the same thing that we see with, the Petrie's Core number 7 and all of the tube drills we find at Abu Sir. And what this would have been the result of the initial, like the cutting process. You see these deep striations and grooves in this hole, and this is quite a length. It was like
That's a foot. Long,
It's a long tube drill.
That's the same. On the right is the same image as on the left.
Yeah. So this is an image of that broken piece.
That's crazy.
So looking inside that tube drill, and then there's two holes behind it. They're full of sand and debris. That would be, to me, it's like, why can't we clear those out?
Yeah.
And latex mold these out. Like, let's get a latex mold. We would find out if that's a spiral groove. I suspect it is. We can back up some of the research that's happened on things like Petrie's Core number 7. And who knows what's in front of this? Like where this block was broken off, there could have been something in front of it. I mean, you don't put these holes there for no reason. There was probably another block that, in fact, there's good evidence that there was another block on the other side. It's not there anymore. But these holes were here, so I suspect this is part of some mechanism that might have involved the a doorway into the pyramid, right? And, this isn't the only example of tube drills in the Great Pyramid, because there's remember that, it's important to remember that's the descending passage that is connected to this, because at the bottom of the descending passage, you go into the, let's see, next slide, please. Yeah, let's play this. So you go down here and you get into the subterranean chamber. This is the subterranean chamber at the bottom. And in the center or over to the left of it, there's a big pit. And this digs down. We don't really know exactly how far it goes, but sitting right there on the ledge is a big chunk of granite. This granite probably came from the doorway.
It's just been tumbled all the way down.
They've kicked it all the way down here, and sitting on this ledge is this piece of granite. There's another piece actually without tube drills in it that's nearby, but if you get close up to this, you climb down in there and you get a close look up at this piece of granite, what do you find? Another couple tube drills. You can actually see it on the left image here. There's two tube drills, one going this way, one going another direction. And when you get the light just right, again, you see those striations. It's a tubular drill, same technology.
Those were exciting pictures to take, because you get this huge chunk of granite, and you're kind of balanced on this narrow ledge, and there's another steep drop next to you, and you're trying to get the light under there and take the photo without falling off into the pit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Need the Indiana Jones music to do that.
And as you can see, these ones go all the way through. So this might be, as do the ones at the gate. So this might be a piece of the block that was on the other side that held up some infrastructure on the pyramid. We don't know. And then this is another part of the pyramid that is very, very rarely seen.
Yeah.
Russ, you can talk about it. But it's called the grotto and the well shaft, right? So you can see the descending passageway here on the image to the left. That goes. You can see the line of the ground level, or actually where the bottom of the base of the pyramid is. The ground level is actually up above where the grotto is. That little shape with the U, because there's a primordial mound. I mean, it's not like it's a flat mound beneath the pyramid. It's built on top of a primordial mound. And there's a passage that's masonry above it that connects from the bottom of the Grand Gallery, goes down through into the grotto, then down through the bedrock and connects down at the bottom of the descending passage. And, according to the people that have documented this chamber, this grotto, inside the grotto, there's a granite block that weighs about 600-700 pounds, and it has tube drills in it. And most likely, this was a block that was kicked down from the king's chamber. It might have been in the way, part of that, whatever the portcullis or the entryway area was kicked down to the bottom of the Grand Gallery, and then it was shoved in this hole down the well shaft. It was actually documented to be wedged and stuck in the top of the well shaft for like decades until somebody busted it loose, and it fell down into the grotto, and it purportedly also has tube drills in it. So,
Wow.
Yeah, and that's why I climbed this, because I wanted to find this block, because we're trying to document all these tube drills. But this grotto part, this opening here, as you can see if you look at this diagram, the well shaft itself, as it goes through the grotto, is encased in blocks, and that's right before you get up to the bottom of the Grand Gallery. Well, now there's a huge hole broken through that set of masonry where presumably somebody shoved this granite block through. But this open area of the grotto, it's showing you there, like you see the upper part. There's kind of a faint circle just above the block. That's really what you can get into now. It's a pocket inside of this of what looks like a cut chamber in the bedrock, but the chamber itself has been mostly filled up with this like an aggregate material of sand and gravel and pieces of flint. So it's like, when we are preparing a site to pour a slab to make a building, you a lot of times you'll put a pad down, and the pad is basically an aggregate that is very carefully tested. The engineers are like, you need this much. They'll check the soil, they'll check the ground, and they'll either say you need to dig down, then you're going to fill it with this much material, and it needs to be this type or whatever, and then we can pour the slab on top of that, and you'll have a good foundation. That's the kind of stuff that you see in here. Is like it's almost like they found some faults and problems in the bedrock that they're going to put the pyramid on, and they were going in and trying to repair it, by filling it with this aggregate material. And it didn't quite work, because climbing up through this through the well shaft from the bottom, you have to start from the bottom, because at the top there's a metal grate that blocks the entrance that goes into to the bottom of the Grand Gallery. So you basically go down the ascending passage into the descending passage, climb that all the way down, and then you can sort of scoot through and get into the bottom of the well shaft. And you have to literally like face crawl through trash and material, and then you get in, you can stand up. There's bats. Yeah. It's exciting because you're trapped in this vertical hole trying to sort of chimney climb, and the bats are, flying you. Yeah, it's great.
Petrie said it was easy though, bro.
Petrie is, climbing it with a candle in a three-piece suit. He's like, it's easy. Just use your elbows.
Right,
great, bro. That's that. Yeah, well,
part of the legend, right?
He's a lead dude. Can you imagine?
Well, if a bat flew into Petrie's hair and he screamed, he's not going to get kicked out of Egypt forever for being somewhere he's not supposed to be.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm trying to sneak, Yeah. But anyway, it was fun. Climbed all the way up, and there is a couple of diagrams that show this, but there are two huge vertical faults that this well shaft passes through on the way to the grotto.
I have video and pictures of it.
Yeah, that are natural open like faults in the bedrock itself, and they have like stalactites. They have cave formations. I mean, they're not very wide, like maybe 12 inches, a little wider. But I'm crawling up, and then I look, and I'm passing through this open area, and in the second one, the one that's closer to the surface, somebody clearly at some point in the distant past tried to fill it with this aggregate material, like they're trying to repair this broken section in there.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting, the whole climb. And I didn't find the block. Right, I walked all the way. I crawled all around inside this grotto and didn't find the block. And I think now it's because it's buried right next to the entrance. But I was crawling all over looking for it. But
yeah, you can find some very old pictures of parts of it, and it was documented as having tube drills, which is why I kind of included it in here.
I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, we get hopefully. It gets documented in the modern times.
Yeah,
but it's very interesting, and in fact, that aggregate is a whole other interesting topic.
Yeah,
and maybe we'll come back to that because I just want to round it out with showing you an example of more tube drills. What I mentioned earlier, which is the let's see, is this going to go? There it goes. So yeah, this is like inside the box. You can see Russ and Kyle there, and if you look inside the wall of this box, what do you see?
This is in the King's Chamber.
This is in the King's Chamber. This is in the wall of the box,
wow.
and you get the light underneath that thing, and it's very obviously a tubular drill that's been run into the wall of the box. There's actually 2 marks like this. Sometimes they get upset if you start poking around with the light in there, and the lighting in the room is terrible. Usually, it's very hard to get photography in there. But you can find these marks of a tubular drill as well as saw cuts and other indications that this box was made precisely. But evidently, the tube drill was part of this, right? So it's a connection in my mind to the vases, to the time frame of the vases, and just the technology used to create them.
So that tube drill was inside of the sarcophagus within the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid.
So in the inside wall.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about how do you cut that out? How do you hollow that out from a single block of granite?
Right.
It's the same way we'd probably do it with wood today is you either drill or you would tube drill.
Yeah.
It's the most efficient way that you cut it down, you snap it off, you remove that material.
So that's how they hollowed out the box of the King's Chamber is just tube drilling.
Yeah, it's plunge cuts.
Plunge cuts.
Yeah.
And then you obviously then you've got to like shave down the edges and make your finished surfaces, but just that bulk material removal process, that's a tube drill. Like in a lot of, it's like the function of tube drills. They're not decorative. They're either a lot of times they've probably been used for door hinges. A lot of times they're inset into something. So maybe there was something that was like a metal piece that was stuck in there. Or it's used as a bulk material removal in areas where you can't make straight cuts to remove other material.
You have a picture of the one with the plunge cuts that probably had the latch, the box that's in the museum. It's got a bunch of the small ones because that shows so you can see they plunged it out with multiple. Now these are small, right? These are like half inch maybe.
So yeah, this is like they go and they go right up to. I mean, we found recently what's probably the biggest one we've ever seen. In fact, it's the next slide. So these are about half-inch tube drills. In the lip of a box, there's actually 2 little cutout sections where they were cutting material out with a small tube drill. It's overlapping. Like they're not trying to. This is just material removal. And then they do get quite large.
Yeah, so
this one is insane.
Wow.
So top right, this is what I previously had thought was the biggest one. It's probably 9-10 inches in diameter. It's in a quarried block. So again, you see this a lot where you see half a hole. It's because somebody's come along and they look for I think the quarriers and the recyclers of stone. They look for blocks of stone with tube drills in them because it's like, okay, we know the stone's weakened on that axis, the axis of the tube drill. So they go in behind it and they'd make their notches and they'd hammer their wood in or they'd hammer their flint in, they'd wet it, and then they'd keep hammering and in an attempt to split the stone along the axis of the tube drill, which is exactly what happened here. You also have a box that, man, I only have a couple of pictures of this one in the bottom right. It's disappeared from the museum as of 2020. I didn't find it, haven't seen it since. I hope it's in the new museum when that opens. But it's been made with 4 giant tube drills. And then there's this other one, right? This huge tube drill, which it's interesting because it's at Kerkwyk. And Kerkwyk Temple is the world's biggest sort of ancient temple complex. It's massive. I can't remember how many acres that site is. It's humongous. And in the center of it, it's like it's all the sandstone hyperstyle halls and these big pylons that have been made by definitely in the New Kingdom. Ramses, these guys did that. But as you go out towards the edges, you actually can find these giant pylons and gates that are made from solid granite. And well, this is all blocks of granite. This whole thing, this is one right at the very end of Kerkwyk. You can't normally get out there, but we get out there in our group. And when you look right up in the top corner, at that block that's, over the span of this thing, there is a gigantic hole in this thing. This thing's 24 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
And it may have been a hinge for a giant set of doors.
Wow.
Is probably my guess.
Wooden doors?
How do you make that hole? Yeah, I don't know what the doors were made of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wooden doors encased in bronze. I mean, who knows? But yeah, it's probably 30, 40 feet up there, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a big...
it's a huge gate.
What kind of a tree would make a 30-foot wooden door?
I don't know. Who knows what the door was made of?
The infamous giant cedar trees of Lebanon.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's granite spans. There's like beams spanning this thing at the top.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And it's, this to me is a good indicator. Like, I think in places like Karnak and Luxor, I think their history is a lot longer and more complicated than we get told, right? We get told these are New Kingdom constructions, but you go to the center of them and you can find strong evidence that this place has been rebuilt. Like, there's a granite core to it, like the obelisks and the statues, and there's a granite, this megalithic work that's exactly like what you see in like the Valley Temple and the Old Kingdom stuff. And even at Karnak in particular, there's where they've pulled up floor tiles, they'll find lower layers of column bases, and where clearly something else was here, it fell down, got knocked down, whatever, and they rebuilt it. And they've been trying to replicate it, and they built things from sandstone in the center, but maybe this was something that was still standing, made from granite. So I think these sites have been around for a long time, and they've just been rebuilt on top of, and that material's all been recycled and reused. I mean, it's all over the place. So
It's crazy.
yeah. So it's cool, and we that tube drill's an interesting one that connects back.
It's crazy to think about how big some of the stuff is that they built. I mean, you're talking like the Ramsey statues, that door, the foot of the statue that you talk about. Like,
statues are like one of my favorite topics too. Yeah, the giant statues are
it's incredible.